Here we are with Radio's Not Dead, and I am in Glasgow, Kentucky.
Hi, Dale Thornhill. Good to see you. Welcome to Glasgow.
Welcome to Glasgow.
Commonwealth Broadcasting. Yeah, it's bluegrass, horses, basketball, and bourbon. Hi, Dale Thornhill. Good to see you. Welcome to Glasgow.
Welcome to Glasgow.
Commonwealth Broadcasting. We're based here in Glasgow, Kentucky, and we've had dozens and dozens of stations in Kentucky and Tennessee, but this is where it all started.
All right, well, let's have a tour. I'll follow you.
All right, come this way. We'll start with the first studio. Go here. So
This is your main
see,
studio.
Yeah, this is the main studio. You can see downtown Glasgow in the background.
Yeah. Nice view. Corner office with a view. You can't ask for anything more than that.
And this is WHHT, which went on the air in 1988 at 106.7. Of course, you know, over 36 years, there's been a lot of frequency changes and name changes and so on and so forth. But now, today, in 2025, this is our main studio and the anchor of this group. And we're going to look at some other studios here in a minute, but this is the hub, the main central, and we can flip this switch and we can go on all the frequencies in the building, which is about 6 or 8 frequencies. So, you know, in case of weather emergencies, that kind of thing. But WHHT started as a top 40 radio station in 1988, and it's gone through a few different formats over the years. Now it was called Hottest Hits, thus the HHT. Now it's Hottest Hit Country. So it's a country format, but it's hot country.
And what other stations do you have?
WCLU, which is a heritage station in Glasgow and Barron County. WLYE is a classic country station, and WLLI is Jack FM.
Okay. I'm a radio girl, but I can play the camera. Here we are with Radio's Not Dead, and I am in Glasgow, Kentucky with Commonwealth Broadcasting.
Commonwealth Broadcasting.
Right. Now you're vice president, right?
Correct.
Part owner?
Yes,
All right, so you and Steve Newberry?
correct.
So I've met Steve a few times at NAB functions, and I met you. This is funny. I've never met you except for a very brief reception back in April, real quick.
Yeah, with Mr. Mike McVeigh,
Yeah.
which he's part of this story too.
Yeah.
As far as my starting, but no, Commonwealth Broadcasting grew out of Newberry Broadcasting with Steve. So, in the subsidiary that still owns and operates this is Newberry Broadcasting, but Steve and I are partners in that. WHHT, the studio we're in now, went on the air in the fall of 1988, and that was Steve and I built that together basically and started it way back when. But our connection, our story started in 1984, and I'm from Louisville and grew up listening to Mike McVeigh stations like WHKY, Heritage Station in Louisville. And I grew up in Louisville, went to Western Kentucky University, which is about 30 minutes from here, and had a happenstance meeting with Steve. And that was in the fall of 1984, and that's when I first started working with him, and then the story just goes on from there. But we launched WHHT, which stood and stands for Hottest Hits. We launched that in the fall of 1988, and still going today.
What was your initial job when you started working in radio? What did you do?
My first job, my very first job, was part-time sign-on Sunday morning. We've all done that. So it was the church programs and reading the news, that type thing. My initial job with WHHT when we launched was I was afternoon drive and sales, and that's a very uncommon hybrid. But
Yes, but a good one.
Yeah, but
it's
that's
one that
what
I
I
think should be happening now.
Right.
You should be.
Very
If you're on the
emphasis.
air, you should be doing sales because that relationship is already there.
That's right, and
Yeah.
that's and to your point, I think that has a lot to do with my success because I was on both sides of the mic, and fortunate enough to hang in there, and we expanded stations, and we can get into that if you like, but we expanded stations
Absolutely, let's get into it. Yeah.
with when they deconsolidated and deconsolidation in the mid 90s. So then we We started investing in other stations and grew up to 36 at one point. So Newberry Broadcasting became Commonwealth Broadcasting, and we, like I said, we had 36 radio stations at one time. WHHT was always one of them.
That was the anchor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many stations do you have now?
14.
14.
Yeah.
That's a significant downsize.
Yeah. And over the years, we have divested in certain markets and peeled off some radio stations, but we're down to our core. We were in the Glasgow market. This is our headquarters. This is our home. And Glasgow is a heritage traditional radio market from the 50s and 60s. And we had expanded out, obviously, all across the state with Commonwealth Broadcasting. And we were in Bowling Green. Bowling Green is some of our biggest stations, but we just recently did a station swap this year, and they own and operate all the stations in Bowling Green, and we own and operate all the stations here in Glasgow. And WCOU, which is right next door, the heritage radio station, it went on the air as WKAY way back many moons ago, but WCOU went on the air with WHHT very close time in the summer of 1988. And so we've been competitors until just this year.
So how far is Bowling Green from Glasgow?
About 30 miles.
Do the signals cross?
Oh, yeah.
So you share market. So it makes sense not to compete against yourself anymore. And now you don't have to drive to Bowling Green all the time. You don't have to do that commute now, do you?
Right.
Yeah.
So it made sense for both companies. And
Yeah.
so now they dominate Bowling Green, and we have all of the Glasgow Barron County market. And this is where Steve is from. He's a native here, and this is where we launched WHHT 37 years
I
ago.
walked into the building, there's a signage, and it's a 4-story building, and the third floor just says Steve Newberry.
Yeah.
That's it. The whole third floor is his office.
Yeah, I just thought about
It's
that.
okay.
That's where my office is too, but
Where's your name on the sign?
it's not
Well, I
on
think
there.
you need to change that. Yeah, we're going to go with you some letters and put them in there.
But yeah, in fact, my office was typically all over the state, and whatever radio station was having problems at the time.
Yeah. So how many people do you have staffed here? Regular frame.
Gosh, just this cluster probably, I would say 12 to 15 probably, which is unusual in today's
Right.
world.
Now, do you have anyone who's on air and does sales too? Have you?
Yeah.
Yes, good. You've kept up with that tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of our most successful air personalities here is a young lady by the name of Kelly McKay, and she started with WHHT a long time ago as a student. And she's followed in that same path of being on air and sales. Serves her well.
So what are some of the key signature events or issues or whatever that your stations get involved in out here?
We do, obviously now with having all of the different stations. We have Classic Country Station, we have WCOU, which is the full service AC station, news, weather, obituaries, those kind of things. Also moving into the digital space with news and sports. And so we cover a lot of things. Our company has always been active with the chamber, with the businesses, obviously, with the business community, but also with the civic side of things and the governmental side of things, and then just trying to help with the charities, whatever comes up. We're going all the way back to our beginnings of raising money for the local YMCA. We were very instrumental in that all the way to today, of school supply drives. We actually coined the phrase of cram the cruiser, and cram the cruiser is with the Kentucky State Police, and we morphed that into city police and county sheriff's department and that kind of thing. We crammed the cruiser with school supplies
okay.
next month
Right.
in July for the
And they
upcoming
go
school
deliver
year.
it to the school. That's
And
fun.
so, and obviously we get more than would fit in one cruiser, but that's how it all started with the cram the cruiser type
What's
thing.
the population here and demographics? Yeah.
It's of course legacy rural town and good industry base here, farming base from 100 years, obviously big dairy county. The county of Barron, which Barron River Lake is close to here. So you have the recreational park. We're sandwiched between, we have Mammoth Cave National Park touching us on one side, and then Barron River Lake is in our boundaries here. The population is 45,000 plus, and
During tourist season, yeah.
During tourist season, it's much greater than that. And just past the county line got a Buc-ee's last year. So,
You got to hit the Buc-ee's.
so that would increase commerce anywhere. As the local radio stations and local radio company, we've been involved in every aspect we could have for the past 40 years. So WHHT is, I look at Steve and myself in that second generation of broadcasters. And what I mean by that is there were the pioneers of the 50s and 60s, and I'm learning that your father was one of those.
Yeah.
But there's that pioneer generation that was on the air in the 50s and 60s, and then of course stereo came along in the late 60s, early 70s, and I look at us being second generation in. We launched this radio station in 1988.
So you guys built it and put it on the air?
Yes.
So found the frequency, that whole construction permit frequency, built it. So this is your baby.
Right. Steve, that summer, Steve and I were both working somewhere else. And
In radio?
In radio.
Okay.
And he got the frequency at 106.7 for this radio station. And so we met, and he said, I want to go back to Glasgow and launch this. And so he came back to Glasgow, which is his home. He came back to Glasgow and started building the radio station in July. And then my first day of work was August 15th. And then we launched on Labor Day weekend, on the Friday of Labor Day weekend. And it was, and when I say it was, there's the heritage of there. You were telling me about your father, and when you say Boss Radio and KHJ, that rings a bell with me. And the WHHT was formed with those Boss hot hit radio stations of WLS and KHJ, and I can remember listening back then to California Air Checks, the California Air Checks, and I've heard those guys from KISS and KHJ and WLS and Z100 in New York, and so that was, we were
Trying to model that.
a small town version of
Right,
it,
that's awesome.
and it was
It was fun.
yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
WHHT is short for Hottest Hits, and now it's country, and you may or may not be able to hear some of it in the background. But it started in the shadow of those heritage top 40 Boss radio stations. And so we started all of that on September 2nd, 1988, and it was all molded in the
So that
history
was
of
the first, and everything grew from that. But this is the one station you won't let go of.
No. Yeah.
It's like a child.
The day that we're not associated with WHHT, we won't be in the business.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
So you and Steve have been partners then for the good 40 some years? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it almost 40? Is it?
We've been partners for 30-ish,
Yeah.
but my first day of work for him, we just flipped over our 40th anniversary last fall.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, there's not very many duos out there
No.
that have done that long.
Yeah.
But no, you speak about the community, and this, of course, this predates WHHT. I went to work for his AM standalone station. Was my first day of work. That was WSMJ. And my first day on the air was running the board for the Tobacco Festival. And of course, we're in rural Kentucky, and talk about the community. The Tobacco Festival is everything. It's in September, and it's everything about the harvest. So that's why they call it the Tobacco Festival. But it's just a wide celebration of the end of the season, that kind of thing. So Tobacco Festival was my first day of work.
That would be an awesome memory, an awesome experience. Like dive right on in.
Yeah.
Just go right straight to an event. I think when I went up to work in Sacramento, that was the first thing I had to go do was go work one of the concerts at the California State Fair.
Yeah.
It was this Paul Rogers, a singer from Bad Company, was like, "That's a good way to get started here."
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And one thing, and I've always talked to students, and when I talk to young people, and I was very young when I got into this business, but what I've always talked about along the journey was it makes for great days. That's what makes radio different. If it's Super Bowl Sunday,
Yeah.
That's part of our life. If it's the concert at the fair, if it's the tobacco festival, if
Yeah.
it's the derby, if it's whatever, we're part of that. So it's not, we don't have the same day every day, which is what I've always cherished about the business. We put WHHT on, as I talked about, in September of 1988. The dinner that I talked about where Steve and I were, out of town, and we were coming back to Glasgow. So he hired me that evening and he said, I want you to go back and be part of starting up this radio station, and your air name is going to be Bobby Rambo. And so there it is, Bobby Rambo on my platinum record there. And I've been, in this world, I've been Bobby Rambo ever since for 37 years. And that was the name of a producer on an album that he had seen, and he loved the name. And so that was the air name that I picked up, and it's been you ever since. Is it still you now? Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're Bobby Rambo on the air?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So.
I don't know if I would like that, living in a small town. I want people to know who I am.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. I don't know.
Well, no, I think they know me more
Yeah.
because of that than
Right.
they would otherwise.
Otherwise. Yeah, that's a good story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there's no boring days.
Right.
Either.
Well, no, they're boring days. No.
Yeah.
Stressful days. But,
Stressful days, but not boring.
but
I know the difference. I know the difference. So tell me more about you, personal life, married, kids, grandkids. What's your life like?
I am married. I have a son and a daughter, and my son is 21 and plays college basketball. And my daughter lives about 100 yards from me. She's in her mid 30s and has 2 children. So the grandkids are very close by,
Nice.
and that's all. Everybody's rooted here in Southern Kentucky, and I thought my son might go into the business maybe, but he's a sports guy at heart.
He's 21. He might still.
Yeah, he might.
Sports guy,
Yeah.
do sports.
That's
you
right.
know?
That's right.
But he
Yeah.
wants to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. What college is he at?
He's at a small school called Welch College in Gallatin, Tennessee.
Okay.
It's a small Christian school, but he has played basketball every day since the 6th grade, and he loves it. And that's what he's at a basketball camp. He's actually coaching at a basketball camp right now. So I mean, that's his thing.
I've been out in Kentucky now for at least a month, and I love how green it is.
Yeah.
And I'm really, it's just like everywhere. I mean, like Bowling Green is the whole state should be called green.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's bluegrass, horses, basketball, and bourbon.
And bourbon. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are our things.
So, yeah. So I'm just out here. I've got my book, Dead Air. I gave you guys a copy, and I'm just out visiting radio stations because the full-time RV lifestyle, I was just thinking, I need a purpose of places to go. I've seen the whole country. I've toured the country in an RV my whole life. And I could either do tourist attractions or whatever, or I can go visit radio stations, which I've done that my whole life too.
Yeah. So what's the mesh in your life? Where did touring in RVs and radio stations cross?
Like when?
That started way back.
Yeah, my dad bought us, we have 5 generations of RV travelers across the country.
Okay.
So we traveled when I was a kid. And my dad had ham radio. And being the engineer that he was, if we were driving around, he'd see a transmitter, he'd call the station and go visit.
Go
him.
visit, yep.
Yeah, and we'd go visit him as a little kid. And so even some of his friends that worked in Los Angeles, in fact, Paris, Kentucky, there was a newsman in Los Angeles, Bill Brown, and he bought a station in Paris. And so we went out and visited him in Paris. And so that 4th of July in Paris, Kentucky. So that's my main memory of Kentucky, was going to visit them and staying with them in their property and at their station.
Well, that reminds me of an odd story. We actually bought those radio stations.
Did you?
Different radio stations.
All right.
In Elizabethtown.
Uh-huh.
But there was an LA newsman named Ross Becker,
Okay.
and he was an anchor in LA, and decided, I would say in the late 90s, early 2000s, that he wanted to get his kids out of LA. And somehow ended up with a broker after consolidation, buying some radio stations in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. And we later bought those stations from him. He operated for 4, 5, 6 years or whatever, operated the radio stations. He was the first and only person to interview O.J. Simpson after the trial because of their connection
With LA.
with their connections in L.A. His agent was connected with the Kardashians and O.J. and all of that, and so they called him back to do an interview, and it wasn't with any network. It was basically just a videotape
Interesting.
interview. It's out there. I think it's on YouTube or whatever. But yeah, it's the same thing of the Paris and the reporter, and yeah. So Ross was in Elizabethtown for quite a while.
Yeah. Bill Brown, this was the 70s when he had his stations in Paris. So getting back to your questions about why am I seeing radio stations, because it just came naturally. There's this whole RV community. They do podcasts, and they all support each other, and they all watch each other's videos, but everybody has a different theme that they do. Somebody will be, I'm going to tour all these baseball parks, or I'm going to do breweries, or we're going to do RV repair tips, or whatever it is, or how not to fight with your spouse when you're living in a full-time RV. And so I'm just like, I need to have a purpose. I need to have my own little niche, and so nobody can do what I can do. I can go visit radio stations and just add that to the mix of what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I love the business. I really do believe radio is not dead. There's a lot of great broadcasters out there doing a really good job.
Yeah,
And that's all I'm here for.
Yeah, and it's full dead air, but
Yeah.
that's not the backbone. It's the life. It's
Yeah.
the life of it.
Yeah, yeah. So Dead Air, the Day the Music Died is actually about Los Angeles radio.
Okay.
So the premise is that some terrorists take over the transmitter sites of the main transmitter of antenna farms in 5 major markets, and they take them all dead. So think about every FM radio station in Los Angeles is now dead air. And then after a few hours, they start broadcasting a terrorist message, which causes a lot of chaos and panic in the city. But the whole story is told from the perspective of the Los Angeles radio station. So you've got the chief engineer, the market manager, the program director, and the radio personality, and what's going on behind the scenes.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's how the story unfolds. I launched the book in March, and I was already doing the RV stuff. So I'm like, all right, go visit radio stations.
Yeah.
Let them know about my book. Here we go.
That's good.
Yeah. I really appreciate you letting me come see your stations and taking time. I know that
Hope
guys.
it's been worthwhile.
Oh, it absolutely has. Guys like you are super busy, and I really appreciate it. There's Dale Thornhill, Commonwealth Broadcasting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad to be with you.